Hello there, I'm Bob Austin from Spitfire Histories, and I'm here to show you the Mark 9 replica Spitfire flying controls that I've developed for flight simulators. The kit comprises of a control column, which is here. You can see it also mimicked on the screen, which, like in the real Spitfire, goes forward and aft on an axis that's down near the floor. And the roll axis, the ailerons, are at the top here, and this as in the real Spitfire, as you can see. The control column includes the firing button, two-position firing button, and both guns when you apply in the middle. It also has a safety switch underneath it. The brake lever is a working brake lever, and brakes are controlled by using the rudder pedals down below, which are standard rudder pedals, and the gentle use of the brake here. The kit comprises the left-hand wall of the cockpit, so there's a little bit of cockpit combing, and this includes basically three units. One is the remote control radio unit, which in this simulator is used to is a useful device for having some extra buttons to program. So they're all here. And these are programmed for things like putting the air filter on the carburetor, putting the flaps up and down, putting the gear cockpit open and closing, and putting the gear up and down. Below this unit is the throttle quadrant, which again is a full-scale replica of the Mark 9 Spitfire. It includes the fuel cutoff lever at the rear, the throttle per se here. As I push it forward, it has turned on the electrics on the screen. And below that, the air screw control lever here, which in fact controls propeller pitch. The fourth lever down here is a friction wheel. When you tighten this up, it puts more resistance on these control seals. Adjust that how you want, as in the real Spitfire. The third item on the left hand is the trim wheels. So you've got the elevated trim wheel just here. I'll pull that back so that you can maybe see a bit better. And at the moment we're a few degrees nose up. I'll bring that to one notch nose down. And below and to the left of that is the rudder trim, and I'll set that a bit later. So without more ado, let's start her up and go and have a fly around. So I'll just move into position. Now you'll notice that the control column is in fact angled back, and the neutral position, as on the real Spitfire, is tilted back at 11 degrees. So fully forward is here, and we're just about touching the instrument panel, or in this case the desk. And when we're fully aft, it comes back into the belly and almost touches the seat. When it's neutral, it's just opposite the throttle lever, and this is correctly positioned as in the real Spitfire. So let's go into the startup procedure. So on with the magnetos. Now these are still on the instrument panel and using the keyboard to activate them. Next item is to put on the fuel cock, which is also here. Open the starter and button and booster coil, which is here. We need to unscrew the primer pump. I'm just going to reset the track IR because it's slipped down a little bit. Okay, there we go, that's a bit better. So we should be able to see down here a bit more now. So unscrewing the prime pump and giving 5 pushes to prime the engine before we start it. It's 3, 4, 5. I like to put on the pitot heat and the fuel pressure pump. You can hear it whining away in the background, so we should be ready to start. I'll put on the wheels, brakes, which I've got on W here, and let's also bring the pitch up so that we start the engine in fine pitch. So the pitch lever fully forward, brakes are on, let's start, and as the engine rotates we add in the maybe that didn't activate properly. Lever still back. So it's, maybe I have to prime it a little bit more again. And 3 pumps should be enough. It's a little bit open. Start again. Okay. Engine's running. Fuel mixture lever is forward. And just run her up a little bit, increase the there we go. Bring it back down. Okay, so engine's on. I'll stick the HUD on the gyro gun sights. Right, come up a little bit in the cockpit. Let's get feet on the pedals and go for a spin. Right, so off with the brakes, a bit of power on, and we're starting to roll. So with gentle use on the pedal, I should bring this back into my start here. I can control very easily the taxiing here. I'm using about 1200 RPM, and we're coming out to the runway. Yeah, the temps are coming up nicely. And we'll just bring the aircraft to a halt before we move out onto the runway. Have a check to the right, nothing coming, off to the left, using clear. So let's move out onto the runway and line up. Okay, gentle use of rudders and pedal and brake lever. Okay, we're lined up properly now. I'm going to put the wheel brakes on, so the brakes are on full. Let's move ahead down into the cockpit a little bit. Check our trim, so we're one notch down. Rudder trim needs to be a little bit right. Be about right there. Those centered up, flaps are up, pitch is forward, brakes are on. Just check that we've got full proper movement on our flying controls. And the rudder, you can just see it there. Right. So let's close the cockpit because it'll get a bit noisy otherwise with the Merlin 60 in front, and come up on the throttle, and we're away. So I let the stick forward a bit and using rudder pedals, whoops, okay, and we're up. I'm drifting around a little bit here. Not my cleanest takeoff. And let's come back on pitch straight away. I've brought the gear up down to pitch, to prop pitch up to 2650 revs. Increase boost a little bit. Gear is up. Indicator. Let's do a left hand circuit. Let's just look around, check there's nothing coming. Okay, so I'm using the trim to adjust the nose up as we're in the curve, and we're now coming down to the downwind leg of the parallel to the runway. Okay, I haven't really dampened any of these controls out for the moment, so everything's pretty much live. Let's head for the lake and I'll see if I can just get the trim sorted out so that it's nice and neutral. So I've got those off there. Oops. So see, these controls are quite sensitive. And let's just check the rudder trim. So here we are, pretty much hands off flying and aircraft stabilized. So I'm going to put the nose down, pick up some speed and do a loop just to show you that that's all working fine. So here we go, up and over. I lost my reference a little bit in there. I'm not an expert aerobatics pilot. So here we go, and then let's just do a roll to show you that that is working fine. Okay, so aircraft does what it's supposed to do. In the hands of a better pilot, it'll do magic. So let's now turn left and do a fast pass down the runway and do a brake landing procedure. So as the speed picks up, I'm going to control the trim, so nose up a little bit. And what I'll do is come down low over the runway and do a left-hand climbing brake and come off the throttle and whatever. So I'm using very slight pitch, elevator trim, control movements, and as you can see, I'm almost hands off on the control column. So okay, let's now brake and go up into a left climbing turn. So climbing, coming off the power, putting the pitch forward, speed is bleeding off, a bit difficult to see. I guess we're about there. I'll come back a bit on the power. Let's get the gear down. Okay, lights are out. I'm waiting for the greens to come on. Okay, greens are on. We're a bit high, and we are doing just over 100, about 110 miles an hour, which is okay for now. So I'll add a bit of power, and we're coming up parallel with the end of the runway. We'll soon start our base leg. So I'm coming up on the power because I'm about to drop the flaps and turn in. So here the flaps go, pitch up to compensate for the flaps quite easily. And let's have the cockpit door open. It'll get a bit noisy. Okay, coming back on the power. We're quite high, so I'll land a bit long down on the runway, but letting the speed come down. I'll be able to use that out a bit at the last minute. Coming back on the power. And flaring out. Letting us sink onto the runway nicely, so there we're down, applying the brakes, trying to keep it straight on the runway. Okay, so using short braking movements and rudder pedals, we've done a proper circuit takeoff and landing without any major incidents. So that shows that everything's working fine. Okay, now each pilot will want to play around with the sensitivity settings as he wishes to find that out. My objective at this stage is just to make sure that everything is working, to show that the concept is fine and models exactly what you get on the screen. Now this is the prototype, so there's bits of tape and things around it because I'm still putting it together, taking it apart, checking electronics and whatever. The production version will have the proper grip on it. These bits of scotch will be away, all this will be screwed down properly, and the wiring here will be tidied up, a lot more as well. So at the moment everything is a little bit in its prototype condition, but the production version will be obviously tidied up. So thank you all for watching, and see you around. Bye for now.